Hello there. What is the time today? Ooh, I see it's the time for Doctor Who reviews. What a sad and lonely concept. The end of the world is one of those episodes that really doesn't seem to bring anything to the overarching story in a grand sort of way, but this is perfectly okay with me, considering you have to have some filler now and then in a TV show that doesn't necessarily have complete continuity. Fortunately, the episode isn't awful and creates an interestingly optimistic perspective of the world 5 billion years from now. Just to clarify, I won't be reviewing The Unquiet Dead because despite it being quite spooky and interesting, it's nothing to go crazy about analytically. That's not to say this episode is completely worthwhile really either, I just needed something to upload before my review of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Anyway, enough of that bollocks, let's tear apart the second episode of the Doctor Who revival and see if it's more interesting than watching paint dry.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
The episode begins with a quick intro sequence showing off what happened in the first episode, and the Doctor gives Rose a few glimpses at the opportunities the TARDIS's time-travelling capabilities could show us. Instead of constantly reinforcing the idea that the Doctor has adventures outside of what we see in the series like the more modern series has done, this segment feels more like a teaser of the kind of bizarre and intriguing eras the show has to offer. Not only that, but we go further and further into the future, boggling the imagination of the viewers to boiling point. Murray Gold's calm and mystical music upon landing in the future really reflects this feeling of showing up in the unknown, and it's really effective at creating this solemn yet explorative tone in the scene. Rose is thrown right into the emotional deep end as if she hasn't been shaken up enough already, and she watches the sun expand. We see a pretty impressive CG sequence of some ships docking, and the Doctor claims that all the humans have left the Earth before its destruction. Personally, I'd be more inclined to believe that the human race has died out by this point of its own accord, but I'm not here to spark a debate about the future of humanity, I'm just giving my opinion, and I'll let you lot squabble about that in the comments section below. There are a few funny moments regarding the prohibition of religion on board, and Rose's comment about the steward's skin colour. The parade of aliens then enters, and I really appreciate all the costume efforts and incredible designs here, especially those that aren't humanoids such as the mocks of Balhoun and the face of Bo. The tiny moan I have here is that the majority of them are humanoid, but that could be considered a bit of a high expectation for a show that proved its comparatively cheap quality in the pilot episode. Plus, the characters that are humanoid are all extremely unique in their own ways, and even if most of them are recycled from a BBC warehouse or were genuinely designed, I much prefer that than to witness a large group of poorly animated CG creatures bounding around the place for comedy's sake. Thank goodness Cassandra is the only CGI character because it works in making her look as grotesquely inhuman as possible. It would have been nice to see a set of lungs as well as her brain down below, considering you need some of those in order to pass air through your mouth and thus create voice. Obviously you need a larynx and all other sorts of bodily objects too, but then we would just have a human body and she would no longer stand out amongst the crowd. Zoe Wanamaker's voice work is really great here too, and I think that this was a good choice on the casting team's behalf to bring us such a poncy voice for Cassandra. It's very interesting as well that considering humanity's lack of knowledge of Earth 5 billion years ago in the present, terms like iPod and legends of ostriches breathing fire come off as rather funny. It all gets a bit too much for Rose and she leaves the room, where once again her rather dull performance becomes a bit of a letdown considering the awesome progress the episode has made so far. The room is filled with aliens twice her size and she looks around aimlessly. She goes to cool down in a corridor and looks outside with the exact same face. Oh, for fuck's sake. It wasn't like the girl shouted boo at you or anything. Why does the non-diegetic music make you jump around like that? The scene establishes that there are still people denied freedom of speech. Come on guys, it's 5.5/Apple/26. Unfortunately, Ruffalo gets pulled into the maintenance shaft despite making no effort to just simply back the fuck away from the creepy little spiders. I know there are a lot of them, but how the fuck do they pull her in there? They don't knock her out like most intelligent kidnappers do because she's still wriggling around as she gets dragged into the tunnel. I don't know. Had the robot spider things been given a few more legs, I might be a bit less inquisitive, but this scene just seems a little bit of an outlier compared to what had been established previously. Just after that, it appears that the spiders don't even seem to be visible to any of the main characters. Another spider hatches, and for some reason the steward doesn't seem to flinch at the fact that a rather noisy metal spider is scurrying up the walls. Even the Doctor walks right up to a wall where two of them are tingling along, and he just walks right bloody past them. Don't get me wrong, I think the spiders are cool and all that, but they're far too frequently sighted in the most nonsensical places. It'd be more interesting if they were just hiding in the background of a shot or something, so they're not the main focus of the scene until Rose's egg hatches. On a more positive note, I find the parts with the Doctor upgrading Rose's phone rather touching. Upon the Doctor's entrance, we have a great shot here showing the two's awkward tension, followed by a well-crafted conversation of the two discussing aliens and the telepathic translator. The awkward silences really do this aspect justice too, and it's really interesting as it establishes Rose's absent-minded attitude about space travel that the Doctor probably thought better of when offering her a trip in space and time. The music that plays after Rose's phone battery gets replaced is one of those pieces from the series that just makes my heart melt. It does a great job of showing just how much of a wonderful individual the Doctor is, no matter how flawed he is at this point. It also expresses what I can only guess is Rose's realization of how much of a wonderful privilege it is to witness both the wild and dangerous time-travelling adventure she's currently in, and her connection to the life she was connected to not a few hours beforehand. Unfortunately, the show leaves brilliance behind for lunacy when the steward gets burned by the sun. You don't see buttons on aeroplanes that could just open up the windows in case you want to be sucked outside along with everybody else in the cabin. Why on fucking earth would anybody have a button on their desk that could just turn the radiation protective windows off? He also had plenty of opportunity to just bat the fucker onto the floor and chooses not to for some reason. The Doctor and Tree Girl go seeking machinery to fuck around with, and Rose has a chat with Cassandra. Perhaps Rose's infuriation with Cassandra is in reference to plastic surgery, where in the future it has become so lost in changing human appearance that it literally becomes lipstick and skin. A little Easter egg I found whilst rewatching this is that the first Harry Potter book is on display in this case here. Pretty interesting. Not sure if this counts as product placement or not though. Back in the tunnel we have this lovely moment where the Doctor is reminded of what he did during the Time War and tears up. The worst part is that viewers have no idea what was making him so upset back then, and this building up of backstory for his character ever so subtly through the episodes is really effective. Back at the party, the fact that Britney Spears' Toxic is played as a traditional ballad once again just comes off as hilarious. It would have been even funnier if this was playing. The pinnacles of musical genius such as Mozart and Beethoven are pushed aside in favour of a 2000s pop song, clearly showing that told by the victor, a victor who has awful taste in music. After a little game of Cluedo, it's revealed that Cassandra is out to make a profit from killing the heads of all the rich alien corporations.
5 billion years and it still comes down to money.
I know, mate. Unbelievable, innit? It's an interesting twist, albeit a rather obvious one, considering it's been mentioned at several times that money is the bad guy of this episode. But at the same time, it's great because it's a rather large problem that you'd have thought in 5 billion years' time we would have sorted it out. They were capable of reserving the Earth and shifting continents, but are still reliant on numbers and IOUs to run the universe. Ah well. Maybe this future isn't as optimistic as I initially theorised. As Cassandra teleports away, the Doctor and the female Ent try to shut off the fans. I don't know what genius architect designed this ship, considering in case of emergency, somebody would need to traverse the fans. Like, I get the big scary unnamed corporation prevents the need for such actions, but come on. This place is just a massive death trap. The sun filters, the giant fans that are placed in reach of the pathway for some reason. Kids, the moral of this story is, don't trust corporations like the BBC and build spaceships yourselves. The Doctor takes his sweet ass time trying to reach the other side, and Professor Oak gets burned to a crisp. Now, I've never quite understood this last part with the Doctor closing his eyes and just no clipping through the final fan. Is this a Time Lord mind trick or something? If somebody could explain this to me or give me examples of when the Doctor had done this in the classic series, please let me know. I'm very confused and I've needed answers for over 10 years now. I need closure. The Earth gets turned into a wrapped Terry's chocolate orange and the glass fixes itself.
Exoglass repair, exoglass replace.
Chris Eccleston then delivers some fine acting as he brings Cassandra back on the ship. There's just this sheer intensity to his character as he mercilessly watches her face burst, especially with this line.
Everything has its time and everything dies.
It just brings a small shiver down my spine. Even after her death, he just walks off with purpose and without facial expression. What a brutal character he is. Fantastic as always. Rose then stares off in sadness, thinking about humanity as a whole, with that beautiful music playing once again, driving the emotion home. Rose is taken back to the present day on Earth, and the Doctor explains what happened to the Time Lords. I guess the moral of the story is that you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. This statement is kind of toyed with in a lovely way with this piece of dialogue which summarises the episode really sweetly.
Come on then, tightwad, chips are on me. We've only got 5 billion years till the shops close.
So, did it suck? I give The End of the World a 7 out of 10 because of its wonderful creativity, great performances from Wanamaker and Eccleston, phenomenal music and great writing. The episode does seem to be affected by the stupid design of the ship and other nonsense that I've pointed out, but an enjoyable episode nonetheless. Hello there, what time is the today? Oh, no. This is written so fucking weirdly. Fuck's sake, the words go over the page! But this is perfectly okay with me, considering you have to have some filler in... I feel like I've got a sneeze coming. This has never happened before. Oh shit! God almighty. Oh. Not only that, ooh. And the Doctor claims that all the humans have left... Fucking hell. What am I even reading? Fuck. Thank goodness I nearly said Clara. Fucking hell. That was really good. I really did well on that. Congratulations. That paragraph has made me spit all over my laptop. But at the same time, it's great because it's a rather large problem that you'd have thought in 5 billion years we would have sorted it.
It's the end of the...